Here are some history facts for you, let's get to it. In 1908, President Theodore Roosevelt was offered the chance to buy Greenland from Denmark, but turned it down because he didn't want to be burdened with another corrupt and troublesome territory. He was right. Greenland is still not a state. Ancient Greek and Roman statues were actually brilliantly colored and not just bare marble or stone. They just look that way today because the colors have faded over time. At the height of the Cold War in the early 1960s, US and Soviet leaders considered developing a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier that would essentially be a gigantic flying Chernobyl. It was deemed too dangerous and expensive to build, and the idea was scrapped. But that's not stopping the US Navy from actually building a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. It's gonna happen. For decades after the American Revolution, George Washington's soldiers wore mourning black armbands on their left arms in remembrance of their fallen comrades. The dildo was invented about 15,000 years before the wheel. For years, pineapples in the 18th century used to be rented as a symbol of wealth and power. People would rent them just for a single night to show off to fellow partygoers. Once the pineapple was placed at their table, everyone knew they were important. There was a secret society during the American Revolution led by Benedict Arnold that wanted to assassinate George Washington and replace him with someone more radical. Their plan failed when word got out and Washington's spy network infiltrated the group. Ancient Thebes once assembled an elite military force consisting of 150 pairs of gay male lovers who went undefeated in war. Homophobia wasn't really a thing back then. Ancient Rome was 8 times more densely populated than modern New York. There were so many people living in such close quarters that ancient Romans frequently had to fight just to get out of their front door. In 1854, an outbreak of cholera in London killed over 500 people per day for several weeks. The source of the outbreak turned out to be a water pump handle that was being used by a nearby brewery to adulterate their beer. That's right, the handle was contaminated with sewage. Don't drink the tap water. The French once mistakenly attacked and fought against themselves during the Battle of Karansebes. The confusion led to hundreds of casualties before officers on both sides realized what had happened. Ancient Greek and Roman historians often made stuff up because they knew their audiences loved drama. The Greeks knew the Persians weren't as civilized as they were, so they exaggerated the Persian king's wife's beauty in order to make Xerxes look like a beast for deflowering her. And they also wrote that Xerxes pissed his pants during battle. That's why we don't trust Herodotus. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the invention of the iPhone than she did to the building of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Spanish Civil War was the first modern conflict where aerial bombing was used as a tactic. The German Condor Legion tested out new aircraft like the Heinkel He-111 and the Junkers Ru-87, aka the Stuka. For centuries, pineapples in the 18th century used to be rented as a symbol of wealth and power. People would rent them just for a single night to show off to fellow partygoers. Once the pineapple was placed at their table, everyone knew they were important. Emperor Shah Jahan, the man responsible for building the Taj Mahal, was actually driven insane towards the end of his life. His son, Aurangzeb, locked him in a tower and threw the key away. During the reign of Ivan the Terrible, a Russian Tsarina was so disgusted by the smell of her husband's body odor that she ordered him to be put to death by poison. This is probably why Ivan the Terrible had such a short and miserable life. Ancient Athens was the world's first true democracy, but only about 185 men had the right to vote and participate in government. Women, slaves, and foreigners were excluded. During World War II, Some Japanese soldiers believed that Adolf Hitler was actually a reincarnation of the first shogun, Oda Nobunaga, who united Japan in the 16th century. Some of them even joined the SS. For decades, the dildo was outlawed in many parts of the world. In fact, it was illegal in Boston until the 1970s. Ancient Rome was 8 times more densely populated than modern New York. There were so many people living in such close quarters that ancient Romans frequently had to fight just to get out of their front door. For most of history, wine was safer to drink than water. That's because wine was usually served warm, and this temperature killed off most of the bacteria. Plus, wine was often traded and sold by weight. So, if it was adulterated with something like sawdust, it would be easy to detect. There was a secret society during the American Revolution, led by Benedict Arnold, that wanted to assassinate George Washington and replace him with someone more radical. Their plan failed when word got out and Washington's spy network infiltrated the group. Napoleon Bonaparte was exiled to the island of Elba, but he was technically allowed to keep all of his treasure, including gold, jewels, and artwork. This is why Elba is known as the Island of Beauty today. Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC because the Senate thought he was becoming too powerful. Ironically, Caesar's adopted son and heir, Augustus, would become the first emperor of Rome, and would start a dynasty that lasted for centuries. One of the most popular board games in the world, Monopoly, was invented as an attempt to teach people about economics. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. The Ottoman Empire once employed a hit squad to hunt down and assassinate the last official ruler of the Byzantine Empire, Constantine XI. After his death, Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror entered Constantinople and looted it for 2 weeks straight. For years, doctors performed a medical procedure called bloodletting, which involved draining some of a patient's blood in order to cure various illnesses. This practice actually gained popularity in the Middle Ages and continued until the late 19th century. It probably saved no one. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Europe was plunged into a period of chaos and destruction that lasted for centuries. This period is known as the Dark Ages. Ancient Thebes once assembled an elite military force consisting of 150 pairs of gay male lovers who went undefeated in war. Homophobia wasn't really a thing back then. During World War I, there was a balding epidemic among soldiers who were fighting on the front lines. It turned out that trench warfare was making them lose their hair. Christopher Columbus was not actually the first European to reach the Americas. The Vikings had established a settlement in Newfoundland, Canada, around 500 years before Columbus arrived. For years, people believed that the dildo was invented during the Victorian era because it seemed scandalous. King Tutankhamun died when he was only 19 years old. It was initially thought that he was killed by a rival in a power struggle. But modern evidence suggests that he may have died from malaria and a broken leg. Ancient Greece and Rome were the most densely populated places in the ancient world. This led to widespread poverty and overcrowding, which made these societies more susceptible to things like plagues and rebellions. People in the Ottoman Empire were prohibited from eating certain foods, like pork and shellfish, even though those foods weren't specifically forbidden in the Quran. This is because Islamic rulers saw these foods as decadent and associated them with non-Muslims. As long as 2,000 years ago, people in ancient Rome were complaining about the traffic. The Egyptian pyramids were built over a period of about 200 years, starting around 2580 BC. This means that several generations of Egyptians worked on these structures. It is estimated that the total number of people who died in World War II was between 70 and 85 million. which was about 3% of the world's population at the time. Ancient Thebes once assembled an elite military force consisting of 150 pairs of gay male lovers, who went undefeated in war. Homophobia wasn't really a thing back then. Ancient Rome was the world's first true metropolis, but it was plagued by problems like air pollution and noise. These are classic problems associated with any large city. The dildo was invented about 15,000 years before the wheel. Ancient Greece was a collection of independent city-states that were constantly at war with each other. This made it difficult for the Greeks to unite and resist outside invaders like the Persians and the Romans. To see Part 1, click here. To see Part 2, click here. To see Part 3, click here. To see Part 4, click here. To see Part 5, click here. To see Part 6, click here. To see Part 7, click here. To see Part 8, click here. To see Part 9, click here.